The rain falls over Boston like a grey curtain that refuses to lift. Claire stands at the edge of her father's grave, her black dress soaked through, her fingers trembling around the manila envelope she has carried for 3 months. Inside those papers lies the end of everything she once believed in. Inside those papers lies freedom. The mourners have already dispersed. Her mother left an hour ago, supported by relatives Claire barely recognizes. The priest offered his condolences and disappeared into his black sedan. Now only the gravediggers remain, waiting at a respectful distance with their shovels and their cigarettes, watching the young woman who refuses to leave. Claire does not cry. She stopped crying 6 months ago when she found the photographs in Daniel's desk drawer. Photographs of another woman, photographs of a life he had been living without her knowledge. 3 years of marriage reduced to lies and silence, and the hollow sound of his voice saying he needed space, space, as if their love had been a room he needed to escape. She looks down at the headstone. Richard Edward Mitchell, beloved father, devoted husband, trusted friend. The words seem inadequate for a man who spent 40 years building a construction empire from nothing, who taught her how to ride a bicycle in their Cambridge backyard, who walked her down the aisle on a September afternoon when the leaves were just beginning to turn. Her father never liked Daniel. He said so only once, the night before the wedding, standing in his study with a glass of whiskey in his hand. There is something behind his eyes, he told her, something cold, something waiting. Claire dismissed it as paternal overprotection. She was 24 years old and in love with a man who made her feel like the center of the universe. Daniel Romano was charming, ambitious, impossibly handsome with his dark hair and storm-grey eyes. He came from money, old money, he said, family investments, and he treated her like a queen. For 2 years she believed the fairy tale. Then the distance began. The late nights. The phone calls he would take in another room. The business trips that stretched from days into weeks. When she asked questions, he smiled and kissed her forehead and told her not to worry. When she pressed harder, his smile disappeared. The last year of their marriage was a slow drowning. Claire stopped recognizing the man who slept beside her. He became a stranger, wearing her husband's face, speaking in riddles, disappearing into a world she was not permitted to enter. She filed for divorce 4 months ago. He did not contest it. He did not fight. He simply vanished, leaving their townhouse in Back Bay empty, except for her clothes and her memories and the crushing weight of her failure. Now she stands in the rain with the final papers, waiting for him to arrive. He said he would come. One text message, 3 days ago, when she informed him about her father's death. "I will be there," he wrote. "We need to talk." Claire checks her watch. The service ended 2 hours ago. The cemetery will close soon. Perhaps he changed his mind. Perhaps he never intended to come at all. She turns to leave, and there he is. Daniel stands 20 feet away, beneath the branches of an ancient oak tree. He is dressed entirely in black. Black suit, black shirt, black coat that reaches his knees. His hair is longer than she remembers, swept back from his forehead, in a way that makes him look older, harder, more dangerous. But it is his eyes that stop her cold. Those storm-grey eyes that once looked at her with tenderness now carry something else entirely. Something predatory. Something that makes the hair rise on the back of her neck. He is not alone. 2 men flank him, both massive, both wearing expressions of professional detachment. They stand with their hands clasped in front of them, scanning the cemetery like soldiers surveying a battlefield. Claire's heart begins to pound. "Daniel," she says. Her voice sounds small against the rain. He does not smile. He does not move. He simply watches her with those terrible eyes, and for a moment she forgets how to breathe. "Claire," he says finally. His voice is deeper than she remembers. Rougher, like gravel wrapped in silk. "You look well." She cannot tell if he is being sincere or cruel. With Daniel, she never could. "I brought the papers," she says, holding up the envelope. Her hand is shaking, All you have to do is sign. Daniel tilts his head slightly, studying her the way a collector might study a rare artifact. He takes a step forward, then another. The two men remain where they are, watching. Your father was a good man, Daniel says. He reaches her and stops, close enough that she can smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, something she cannot name. I am sorry for your loss. Claire swallows hard. Thank you. He looks at the grave, his expression unreadable. Richard never trusted me. Did you know that? She nods. He told me. He was right not to, Daniel says quietly. There is something in his voice that sounds almost like regret, about many things. Claire does not know what to say. The rain continues to fall. The gravediggers have stopped pretending not to watch. Please, she says, just sign the papers. Let me go. Daniel turns back to her. His eyes search her face with an intensity that makes her want to step backward, to run, to disappear into the grey Boston afternoon. Is that what you want? He asks. To be free. Of me? Yes. The word comes out stronger than she expected. She has been rehearsing it for months. Daniel is silent for a long moment. Then he reaches into his coat and produces a pen, black, expensive, catching the dim light. He takes the envelope from her hands, removes the papers, and without reading them signs his name on every page that requires his signature. It takes less than a minute. When he is finished, he slides the papers back into the envelope and hands it to her. His fingers brush against hers, and she feels a jolt of electricity that she desperately wishes she could ignore. There, he says, you are free. Claire clutches the envelope to her chest like a shield. Thank you, she whispers. She turns to walk away. Claire. His voice stops her. She does not want to turn around. She does not want to see whatever is in his eyes now. But something compels her, some force she cannot name, and she finds herself facing him again. Daniel has not moved, but something in his posture has shifted. He looks almost vulnerable, standing there in the rain beneath the ancient oak tree. There are things you do not know, he says, things I could never tell you, things that would have put you in danger. What are you talking about? He shakes his head slowly. It does not matter now. You have what you wanted. Go, live your life. Forget you ever knew me. Claire wants to argue. She wants to demand answers, explanations, some kind of closure beyond a signature on a piece of paper. But the look on his face tells her that she will receive nothing more. Not today. Perhaps not ever. She turns and walks toward the cemetery gates. She does not look back. 3 hours later, Claire sits in her father's study in the family home in Cambridge. The rain has stopped, leaving the world washed clean and glistening. Through the window she can see the garden where she played as a child, the roses her mother tends with obsessive devotion, the stone bench where her father used to sit and read the newspaper on Sunday mornings. The divorce papers rest on the desk in front of her, signed and finalized. She should feel relieved. She should feel triumphant. Instead, she feels nothing but a hollow emptiness that echoes through her chest. Her phone buzzes. A text from her sister Emma checking in. Claire ignores it. She picks up the papers and flips through them, confirming that everything is in order. Daniel's signature is bold and confident, the signature of a man who knows exactly who he is and what he wants. She traces the letters with her fingertip, remembering a time when that same hand held hers across restaurant tables, brushed hair from her face, reached for her in the darkness of their bedroom. How did they get here? How did love become silence, become distance, become this? Two strangers exchanging documents in a cemetery while her father's body grows cold in the ground. She sets the papers aside and opens her laptop. She has been putting off her father's affairs, the endless paperwork that accompanies death in America, insurance claims, bank accounts, the will. Her father's lawyer, a silver-haired man named Harrison Whitmore, has been leaving messages for days. She has been avoiding him, unable to face another conversation about loss and logistics. But now, with the divorce finalized, she has no more excuses. She clicks on her email and begins scrolling through the accumulated messages. One catches her eye. It is from a sender she does not recognize. An Encrypted address, a string of random letters and numbers. The subject line reads simply, "About your husband." Claire's heart skips. She knows she should delete it. She knows it is probably spam, or worse, some kind of phishing attempt designed to steal her personal information. But something makes her click. The message is short. "Mrs. Romano," it begins. "You do not know me, but I know things about your husband that you deserve to understand. Daniel Romano is not who he claims to be. His family. Money comes from a source you cannot imagine. If you want the truth, meet me tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Thinking Cup on Newbury Street. Come alone. Tell no one. There is no signature, no name. Nothing but those words, glowing on her screen like a warning." Claire reads the message 3 times. Her first instinct is to dismiss it as a prank, some bitter acquaintance trying to stir up trouble. But something about the tone, the specificity, the careful phrasing makes her pause. His family money comes from a source you cannot imagine. She thinks about the photographs she found, the late-night phone calls, the business trips that never quite added up, the way Daniel deflected every question about his work with a smile and a change of subject. She thinks about her father's words. There is something behind his eyes, something cold, something waiting. What if he was right? What if the man she married was hiding something far worse than an affair? Claire closes her laptop and stares out the window, at the darkening garden. The roses sway gently in the evening breeze, their petals catching the last light of day. Tomorrow she will go to the Thinking Cup on Newbury Street. Tomorrow she will discover the truth, and nothing will ever be the same. Check if you are already subscribed to this channel. Every week we bring stories that touch the soul, stories of love, survival, and the strength of the human heart. If you want to be part of this journey, hit that subscribe button now. You will not regret it. The Thinking Cup is crowded when Claire arrives, filled with the usual assortment of Boston professionals seeking their afternoon caffeine fix. She orders a black coffee she does not intend to drink and finds a table near the window, positioning herself so she can see everyone who enters. She waits. At precisely 2 o'clock, a woman slides into the seat across from her. She is perhaps 50 years old, with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun and sharp blue eyes that miss nothing. She wears an expensive grey suit and carries herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to power. "Mrs. Romano," the woman says. Her voice is low and cultured, with a faint accent Claire cannot place. "Thank you for coming. Who are you?" The woman smiles without warmth. "You may call me Catherine. That is not my real name, but it will serve our purposes." Claire's fingers tighten around her coffee cup. "What do you want?" "To help you," Catherine says. "To open your eyes before it is too late." "Too late for what?" Catherine leans forward, her eyes intense. "What do you know about your husband's family?" Claire hesitates. "Not much," she admits. "He said they were in investments. Old money. He never talked about them." "Old money," Catherine repeats. She laughs softly, but there is no humor in it. That is one way to describe it. She reaches into her bag and produces a manila folder, thick with papers and photographs. She slides it across the table toward Claire. "The Romano family has been operating in the northeastern United States for over 70 years, Catherine says. "They started in New York, expanded to Boston, Philadelphia, Providence. They control construction, shipping, real estate, legitimate businesses on the surface." Claire stares at the folder but does not touch it. And beneath the surface? Catherine meets her eyes. "Beneath the surface, Mrs. Romano, your husband's family is one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the country." The words hit Claire like a physical blow. She feels the blood drain from her face, feels the room tilt slightly around her. "That is not possible," she whispers. Catherine pushes the folder closer. "Look at the evidence. Bank records, surveillance photographs, transcripts of intercepted communications. This is not speculation, Mrs. Romano. This is documented fact." Claire's hands are trembling as she opens the folder. The first photograph shows Daniel standing outside a warehouse, speaking with 3 men she does not recognize. He is dressed casually, his posture relaxed, but there is something in his expression that makes her stomach clench. A coldness she has seen only glimpses of during their marriage. The second photograph shows a younger Daniel, perhaps 18 or 19, standing beside an older man with silver hair and Daniel's same storm-grey eyes. They are both wearing suits. Behind them, a black car gleams in the sunlight. "That is Antonio Romano," Catherine says, Daniel's father. "He ran the family operations until his health declined 3 years ago. He passed away 6 months ago. Claire remembers Daniel disappearing for a week last summer. A family emergency, he told her. She did not ask questions. When Antonio died," Catherine continues, "Daniel became the head of the family. He is now responsible for everything, every business, every operation, every decision." Claire shakes her head. No, that cannot be right. Daniel works in finance. He has an office downtown. He goes to meetings, conferences. He would never, she cannot finish the sentence. Catherine's expression softens slightly. "I understand this is difficult to hear, but you need to understand the situation you were in, and the situation you may still be in." "What do you mean?" Catherine pauses, choosing her words carefully. "Daniel Romano is not a man who lets things go easily. You were his wife for 3 years. You lived in his home. You saw his face every day. There are people in his organization who will wonder what you know, what you might say." Claire feels a chill run down her spine. "I do not know anything. I never knew anything." "I believe you," Catherine says, "but they may not." "Who are you?" Claire demands. "Why are you telling me this?" Catherine is silent for a long moment. "Let us say I have a personal interest in seeing the Romano family brought to justice," she says finally. "And you, Mrs. Romano, may be the key to making that happen." Claire pushes back from the table, her heart pounding. "I am not interested in being anyone's key. I just want to move on with my life. Daniel and I are divorced. It is over." Catherine shakes her head slowly. "With men like Daniel Romano," she says, "nothing is ever truly over." Claire stands abruptly. Her chair scrapes against the floor, drawing glances from nearby tables. She does not care. "I have to go," she says. Catherine does not try to stop her. She simply watches as Claire grabs her purse and heads for the door. "When you are ready to talk," Catherine calls after her, "you know how to reach me." Claire does not look back. She walks for hours, wandering through the streets of Boston without destination or purpose. The city moves around her, cars honking, pedestrians rushing, the eternal rhythm of urban life. But she feels separate from all of it, trapped in a bubble of disbelief. Daniel. Her Daniel. The man who brought her flowers on random Tuesdays, who made her laugh until her stomach ached, who held her through her darkest nights and promised her everything would be all right. That man cannot be a criminal. That man cannot lead a criminal organization. But even as she thinks it, pieces begin falling into place. The unexplained wealth, the mysterious meetings, the way his phone would ring at 3 a.m, and he would leave without explanation. The coldness that crept into his eyes when he thought she was not watching. She ends up at the waterfront as the sun begins to set, painting the harbor in shades of gold and crimson. She leans against the railing and watches the boats moving in the distance, feeling the cool sea breeze against her face. What has she been blind to? What else has she missed? Her phone buzzes in her pocket. She pulls it out and sees a text from an unknown number. You should not have met with her. Claire's blood turns to ice. She looks around frantically, searching the crowd for familiar faces. But everyone is a stranger. Tourists taking photographs, couples walking hand in, businessmen hurrying toward the tea station. Another text arrives. Go home, Claire, stay there, do not speak to anyone else. A third, I will protect you, but only if you let me. She knows with absolute certainty that the messages are from Daniel. She knows he is watching her, and she knows with a terror that settles into her bones that Catherine was right. Nothing is ever truly over. 1 week passes, then 2. Claire barely leaves her father's house. She tells herself it is because of the estate matters, the endless paperwork that requires her attention. But the truth is simpler and more shameful. She is afraid. Every car that slows on the quiet Cambridge street makes her heart race. Every knock at the door sends her scrambling for a hiding place. She has not responded to Catherine's follow-up emails. She has not told anyone about the photographs, the meeting, the text messages. She is paralyzed. Her mother worries. Her sister calls daily, begging her to come stay with them. In Providence. Claire declines with excuses that grow thinner each time. She cannot explain what she is afraid of. She cannot even fully explain it to herself. On the 15th day, the doorbell rings at 7 in the morning. Claire is still in her robe, nursing a cup of coffee that has gone cold. She freezes at the sound, her cup suspended halfway to her lips. The doorbell rings again. Then a voice, muffled through the heavy oak door. "Claire, I know you are in there. Open the door." Daniel. Every instinct screams at her to stay silent, to pretend she is not home, to wait until he goes away. But something else rises in her, anger perhaps, or defiance, or simply the exhaustion of being afraid. She sets down her coffee and walks to the door. She opens it. Daniel stands on the front porch looking like he has not slept in days. His normally perfect hair is disheveled, his suit rumpled, but his eyes are clear and focused, fixed on her with an intensity that makes her breath catch. "Can I come in?" he asks. "No." The word surprises both of them. Claire grips the doorframe, using it to anchor herself. "Then I will say what I need to say right here," Daniel replies. He glances over his shoulder at the quiet street. "Although I would prefer some privacy." Claire considers slamming the door in his face. She considers screaming for help. She considers a dozen options, all of them ending badly. Instead, she steps aside. Daniel enters the house and closes the door behind him. He stands in the foyer where he once stood on happier days, when he would arrive to pick her up for dinners or trips or lazy weekend afternoons. The silence stretches between them. "You met with someone," Daniel says finally. "A woman named Catherine." Claire's jaw tightens. "You were following me." "I was protecting you," he corrects. "There is a difference." "Protecting me from what?" "From the truth?" Daniel's expression flickers. "What did she tell you?" Claire lets out a bitter laugh. "What do you think she told me?" "Daniel, she showed me photographs, documents. She told me about your family, your business. She told me who you really are." Daniel is silent for a long moment. Then he nods slowly, as if confirming something to himself. "Catherine Mitchell," he says. "Former federal agent. Spent 15 years trying to build a case against my family. Failed every time. Now she works independently, gathering information, looking for weaknesses." Claire blinks. "Mitchell? That is my maiden name." Daniel meets her eyes. "She is your father's sister, Claire. Your aunt." The world tilts. "That is impossible," Claire whispers. "My father never had a sister. My grandmother only had one child." "That is what they told you," Daniel says. "Catherine was estranged from the family before you were born. Your father never spoke of her. Your grandmother pretended she did not exist. There were circumstances, choices she made that the family could not forgive." Claire shakes her head, trying to process this new information. "Why? Should I believe anything you say?" "You should not," Daniel admits, "but ask yourself this: why would I lie? What would I gain by telling you the truth now?" It is a fair question. Claire does not have an answer. Daniel takes a step toward her. His voice drops, becoming softer, more intimate. "I never wanted you involved in this world," he says. "That is why I kept it from you. That is why I let you go." "Let me go?" Claire's voice rises. "You did not let me go, Daniel. You disappeared. You turned into a stranger. You destroyed our marriage without ever having the decency to explain why. I was trying to protect you. From what? From your family? From your business? From the life you were living without me?" Daniel's jaw tightens. "From myself." The words hang in the air between them. Claire feels tears burning behind her eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. She has cried enough over Daniel Romano. She will not give him the satisfaction of seeing her cry again. "Why are you here?" she asks finally. "The divorce is final. We have nothing left to say to each other." Daniel reaches into his coat and produces another folder, smaller than the one Catherine showed her. He holds it out. "Your aunt is not what she seems," he says. "She is not interested in justice. She is interested in revenge, and she will use you to get it regardless of the cost." Claire does not take the folder. "What kind of revenge?" 30 years ago, Daniel says, Catherine Mitchell made a choice that cost her everything. Her career, her family, her future. She blames my father for that choice. Now that my father is gone, she has transferred that blame to me. What choice? Daniel pauses. That is not my story to tell. But I need you to understand. If you continue speaking with her, if you continue digging into my family's affairs, you will be putting yourself in danger. Not from me, from forces neither of us can control. Claire stares at him. And I am supposed to just trust you? No, Daniel says. You are supposed to use your own judgment. Look at the evidence, consider the sources. Decide for yourself what is true. He sets the folder on the hallway table and turns toward the door. Claire, he says, pausing with his hand on the knob, whatever happens next, whatever you choose to do, know that I never stopped caring about you. Everything I did because I thought it was the best way to keep you safe. He opens the door. Wait, Claire says. He stops. If everything Catherine told me is true, if your family really is what she says, why did you marry me? Why bring me into that world at all? Daniel is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper. Because for a few years, he says, you made me believe I could be someone else. Someone better. Someone worthy of a life outside the shadows. He walks out the door and closes it softly behind him. Claire stands alone in the foyer, the folder waiting on the table, her heart breaking all over again. If you are watching this, right now I need you to do something for me. I need you to leave a comment saying, my heart cannot handle this story. Write that in the comments and let me know you are feeling this moment as deeply as I am. Because stories like this, they are not just entertainment. They are pieces of our souls shared between us. And right now, your comment would mean everything. The folder sits unopened on Claire's desk for 3 days. She walks past it 100 times. She picks it up, sets it down, picks it up again. She cannot bring herself to look inside, but she cannot throw it away either. On the 4th day, she opens it. Inside are documents, photographs, handwritten notes. All of them relate to Catherine Mitchell, or as the records show, Catherine Elizabeth Mitchell, born 1972 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Claire's aunt. Her hands tremble as she reads. The story that emerges is complicated and painful. Catherine was 13 years older than Richard, Claire's father. She was brilliant, ambitious, driven. She graduated from Harvard Law at 24 and joined the FBI at 26, determined to make a difference in the world. Her first major assignment was organized crime in the northeastern United States. For years, she worked undercover, building relationships, gathering evidence, slowly constructing a case against the Romano family that would have brought down the entire operation. She was good at her job. Too good, perhaps. She got close to people she should have kept. At a distance, one of those people was Antonio Romano. Claire's stomach churns as she reads the next section. Catherine and Antonio had an affair. It lasted 2 years, hidden from both of their worlds. When it was discovered, by Catherine's superiors, by Antonio's associates, everything fell apart. Catherine was forced out of the FBI in disgrace. Antonio, to protect himself and his family, made sure she could never work in law enforcement again. He destroyed her reputation, her career, her future. But that was not the worst of it. According to the documents, Catherine was pregnant when the affair ended. Antonio demanded she terminate the pregnancy. She refused. He responded by having her institutionalized, claiming she was mentally unstable, a threat to herself and others. By the time Catherine emerged a year later, the baby was gone, adopted perhaps, or worse. Claire sets the folder down, feeling sick. This is the woman who wants her help. This is the woman who claims to want justice. What she wants, Claire realizes, is not justice at all. What she wants is to hurt the Romano family the way they hurt her, and she does not care who gets caught in the crossfire. Claire thinks about Daniel's words. She will use you to get it, regardless of the cost. She thinks about her father, who never mentioned having a sister, who kept this painful secret buried for 50 years. She thinks about the choices that shape us, the wounds that never heal, the cycles of pain that pass from generation to generation. Her phone buzzes. A text from Catherine. "Have you decided? Time is running out." Claire stares at the message for a long moment. Then she types her response. "We need to meet. But this time I pick the place." Catherine agrees. They meet the next afternoon at the Arnold Arboretum, a sprawling park in the Jamaica Plain neighborhood. It is a place Claire has loved since childhood, a sanctuary of trees and paths and quiet contemplation. She chose it deliberately, neutral. Ground, public but not crowded, a place where she can speak freely without fear of being overheard. Catherine is already waiting when Claire arrives, sitting on a bench beneath a massive oak tree. She looks older today, more tired. The sharp confidence Claire saw at the thinking cup has softened into something more fragile. "You read the documents," Catherine says. "It is not a question." Claire nods. She sits down on the bench, leaving space between them. "Why did you not tell me the truth?" Claire asks. "About who you are, about your history with the Romano family." Catherine's jaw tightens. "Would you have believed me? Would you have listened to anything I said, knowing I had personal reasons to hate them?" Claire considers this. "Probably not." "I needed you to see the evidence first," Catherine says, "to understand what kind of people they are, what they are capable of." "And now," Claire asks, "now that I know everything, what do you want from me?" Catherine turns to face her fully. Her eyes are bright with unshed tears. "I want them to pay," she says, "for what they did to me, for what they took from me. I want Antonio Romano to be remembered as the monster he was, and I want his son to answer for the empire he has inherited." Claire is silent for a long moment. "I understand why you feel that way," she says finally. "After everything you went through, I understand." "But," Claire takes a deep breath, "but I cannot be part of this. I cannot be a weapon in your war." Catherine's expression hardens. "Do you not understand what Daniel is? What his family does?" "I understand," Claire says, "but I also understand that revenge will not heal your wounds. It will not bring back what you lost. It will only create more pain, more destruction, more broken lives." "You sound like your father," Catherine says bitterly. "Maybe I do." Claire meets her aunt's eyes. He was not a perfect man, but he understood something important, that we cannot let our pain define us, that we have to choose every day who we want to be. Catherine shakes her head. "You are naive. You think you can walk away from this, pretend it never happened, go back to your comfortable life." "No," Claire says. "I know I cannot go back. Everything has changed. Everything I thought I knew was a lie, but I get to choose what happens next, and I choose not to become someone consumed by hatred and revenge." Catherine stands abruptly. Her hands are trembling. "You are making a mistake," she says. "Daniel Romano will never let you go. He will draw you back into his world whether you want it or not." "Maybe," Claire says, "but that is my choice to make, not yours." Catherine stares at her for a long moment. Then, without another word, she turns and walks away, disappearing into the trees. Claire sits alone on the bench, watching the leaves flutter in the afternoon breeze. She has made her choice. Now she has to live with it. That night, Claire calls Daniel. He answers on the first ring. "Claire." "I read the documents," she says. About Catherine. About what happened to her. Silence on the other end. I'm not going to help her, Claire continues. Whatever she is planning, I will not be part of it. She hears Daniel exhale slowly. Thank you. But I need something from you, Claire says. I need you to be honest with me. For once in our entire relationship, I need you to tell me the truth. About what? About everything, Claire says. About your family, about your business, about why you really married me, about what happens now. Another long pause. Then Daniel says, that is a dangerous conversation, Claire. There are things once you know them that you cannot unknow. I understand, Claire says, but I am done living in the dark. I am done being protected from truths I have a right to know. Either you tell me everything or we have nothing else to say to each other. The silence stretches between them. Finally, Daniel speaks. Come to the house tomorrow, he says. The old family estate in Brookline. I will tell you everything. And what then? Claire asks. Then, Daniel says quietly, you decide. The Romano estate sits on 3 acres of meticulously maintained grounds in Brookline, hidden behind iron gates and high hedges. Claire has never been here before. During their marriage, Daniel always made excuses. His family was traveling, the house was being renovated, it was not the right time. Now she understands why. A guard at the gate checks her identification before waving her through. The driveway winds, through gardens that would not be out of place in an Italian villa, cypress trees, stone fountains, roses climbing ancient walls. The house itself is massive, a Georgian mansion of red brick and white columns, timeless and imposing. Daniel is waiting for her on the front steps. He looks better today than he did at her father's house. His suit is crisp, his hair combed back, his expression carefully neutral. But she can see the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Thank you for coming, he says. Claire nods. She does not trust herself to speak. He leads her inside through a foyer that could swallow her entire Cambridge townhouse, past rooms filled with antique furniture and priceless artwork. Everything is beautiful and cold, like a museum designed to impress rather than comfort. They end up in a library at the back of the house, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, leather chairs, a fireplace crackling despite the mild weather. Daniel gestures for her to sit. She does. He remains standing. Where do you want me to start? He asks. At the beginning, Claire says. I want to understand. Daniel nods slowly. He turns to look out the window, his profile sharp against the afternoon light. My great-grandfather came to this country in 1920, he says, from a small village in Sicily. He had nothing, no money, no connections, no prospects. But he was smart and ruthless, and he understood something that many immigrants did not, that in America, power was available to anyone, willing to take it. Claire listens in silence. He started small, Daniel continues, protection services, gambling, things the law could not or would not provide. By the time my grandfather was born, the family had established itself as a force in New York. By the time my father took over, we controlled operations in 5 states. He turns back to face her. I grew up in this world, Claire. I never knew anything else. By the time I was old enough to question it, I was already too deep to escape. My father groomed me from childhood to take his place. I never had a choice. Everyone has a choice, Claire says quietly. Daniel's expression flickers. Perhaps. But when you are 18 years old and your father hands you a responsibility that generations have carried before you, when the lives of hundreds of people depend on your decisions, the choice does not feel as simple as you might imagine. Claire considers this. Is that why you married me? Because I represented something outside that world? Yes, Daniel admits. When I met you, I saw everything I could never be, everything I wanted and knew I did not deserve. You were kind and honest and good. You made me believe, foolishly perhaps, that I could build something separate from my family's legacy. But you could not. No, Daniel says, I could not. When my father died, the responsibility fell to me. I tried to stay away from it, to maintain the life we had built together. But the organization does not function without leadership. Without me, people would have died. Wars would have started. Everything my family built over 4 generations would have collapsed. So you chose them over me." Daniel shakes his head. "I chose to protect you. By pushing you away, by letting you believe I was simply a bad husband, I kept you outside the danger. If you had known the truth, if you had been drawn into this world, you would have become a target. A weakness my enemies could exploit." Claire feels anger rising in her chest. "You decided that for me, without asking, without giving me any say in my own life." "Yes," Daniel says, "and I would make the same decision again." She stands abruptly, pacing the length of the library. Her heart is pounding, her thoughts spinning. "What happens now?" she demands. Catherine is still out there. She still wants revenge. "She will not stop just because I refuse to help her. Catherine is being handled," Daniel says carefully. "What does that mean?" "It means," Daniel says, "that she will be given a choice. She can accept a settlement, money enough to live comfortably for the rest of her life in exchange for her silence, or she can continue her crusade and face the consequences." Claire stops pacing. "What consequences?" Daniel meets her eyes. "Nothing fatal. I am not my father." But there are ways to neutralize a threat without resorting to violence. Claire wants to believe him. She wants to believe that the man she married, the man she loved, is not capable of the things his family has done. But she knows better now. "And me?" she asks. "What choice do I have?" Daniel is quiet for a long moment. "You have the choice you have always had," he says finally, "to walk away, to pretend none of this ever happened, to build a new life somewhere far from here." He pauses. "Or you can stay." Claire stares at him. "Stay." Daniel takes a step toward her. His voice drops, becoming almost tender. "I am not asking you to be part of my world," he says. "I would never ask that of you. But I am asking for a chance. A chance to prove that I can be the man you believed I was. A chance to build something legitimate, something clean." Claire feels tears threatening behind her eyes. "How am I supposed to trust you after everything you have done?" "You are not," Daniel says simply. "Trust is earned. I am asking for the opportunity to earn it." She looks at him, really looks at him, for the first time since she walked through the door. She sees the weariness behind his eyes, the weight of responsibilities she cannot fully comprehend. She sees the boy who never had a choice becoming a man trying desperately to make one. She sees, perhaps, the beginning of something new. "I need time," she says finally, "to think, to process everything." Daniel nods. "Take all the time you need." He walks her to the door. Before she steps outside, he catches her hand. "Claire." She looks up at him. "Whatever you decide," he says, "know that I never stopped loving you. I never will." He releases her hand. Claire walks to her car, without looking back. But she knows deep in her heart that she will return. 3 months pass. The autumn leaves in Boston have turned to gold and crimson, carpeting the streets in brilliant color before winter strips the trees bare. Claire watches the seasons change from the window of her new apartment in Beacon Hill, a modest place she found after selling her share of her father's estate. She has spent the past weeks rebuilding her life piece by piece. She returned to her nursing career, taking a position at Massachusetts General Hospital that keeps her busy and grounded. She reconnected with old friends, started therapy, began the slow process of understanding who she is outside of her marriage. She has seen Daniel 3 times. The first meeting was formal, almost awkward. They had coffee at a neutral location, exchanging updates about their lives like acquaintances rather than former spouses. Daniel told her about the changes he was making to his family's operations, legitimate businesses, charitable foundations, a gradual withdrawal from the shadows. Claire listened without committing to anything. The second meeting was warmer. They walked through the public garden as the leaves began to fall, talking about their childhoods, their dreams, the people they wanted to become. For the first time, Claire felt like she was speaking to the real Daniel, not the charming stranger she married, not the cold Mafia boss she discovered, but something in between. Someone human. The third meeting was last night. They had dinner at a small Italian restaurant in the North End, a place Daniel's family had frequented for generations. The owner greeted him by name, showed them to a private table in the back, brought wine without being asked. Claire watched Daniel interact with the staff, respectful, warm, almost gentle, and felt something shift inside her. This is a man trying to change. This is a man fighting against a legacy he never chose. This is a man worth believing in. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront. The city lights sparkled on the harbour, the air crisp with the promise of winter. Daniel took her hand, and she let him. They stopped at a bench overlooking the water. "I have something to tell you," Daniel said. Claire felt her heart rate increase. "What?" "Catherine has accepted the settlement. She signed the papers yesterday. She is moving to California, starting over. She has agreed to never contact you again." Claire exhaled slowly. "How do you feel about that?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. "Relieved," he admitted. "She deserved justice for what my father did to her. But she was on a path that would have destroyed her and taken others down with her. This way, maybe she can find some peace." Claire nodded. She thought about her aunt, the woman she barely knew, carrying 30 years of pain and rage. She hoped Catherine would find the peace she was searching for. "There is something else," Daniel said. Claire looked at him. "I am." Stepping back from day-to-day operations, he continued. "Turning control over to my cousin Marcus. He is better suited for the transition to legitimate business anyway. He has an MBA, connections in the corporate world. He can take the family in a direction I never could. What will you do?" Daniel smiled, a real smile, the kind she had not seen since the early days of their marriage. "I am thinking about going back to school," he said, "studying something useful. Maybe architecture. I always liked building things." Claire laughed. It felt strange and wonderful, laughing with Daniel again. "You are serious?" "Completely." He turned to face her fully. "Claire, I know I cannot undo the past. I cannot change who I was or what my family did, but I can change who I am going forward, and I want to do that with you." Claire felt tears welling in her eyes. "Daniel, I am not asking you to marry me again," he said quickly. "I am not asking for anything you are not ready to give, but I am asking for a chance, a real chance, to build something together that is ours, not my family's, not the past's. Ours." Claire looked at him, this complicated, damaged, hopeful man, and felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble. She thought about everything she had learned over the past months, the darkness and the light, the lies and the truth, the pain and the possibility. She thought about her father's words. There is something behind his eyes, something cold, something waiting. But now she understood. What was waiting was not cruelty or violence, it was hope. Hope for something better, hope for love. "Okay," she said. Daniel's eyes widened. "Okay. Okay," she repeated. "One chance. One real chance." Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. She felt his heart pounding against her chest, felt his breath warm on her hair, felt the tears he was trying to hide. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other, while the harbour lights danced on the water and the first snow of winter began to fall. 1 year later. Claire stands at the window of their new home in Cape Cod, watching the waves roll against the shore. The morning sun paints the water in shades of gold and silver, and she can hear seagulls calling in the distance. Behind her, Daniel is making breakfast. She can smell bacon and coffee and something sweet. Pancakes, maybe, in the shape of hearts. He has been perfecting the recipe for months. Their rescue dog, a golden retriever named Murphy, is sprawled on the living room floor, snoring contentedly. It is not a perfect life. There are still complications. Daniel's family, the occasional reminder of his past, the therapy sessions they both attend to work through the trauma. But it is their life, built from the ashes of what came before. Claire thinks about the woman she was a year ago, standing in that cemetery with divorce papers clutched to her chest. She barely recognizes that woman now. She has grown. They both have. "Breakfast is ready," Daniel calls from the kitchen. Claire smiles and turns from the window. She walks to the kitchen, where Daniel is arranging pancakes on a plate with more care than the task requires. He looks up when she enters, and his face lights up the way it always does. "Good morning, beautiful," he says. "Good morning," she replies. She kisses him softly, tasting coffee on his lips. Murphy waddles in and parks himself, hopefully at Daniel's feet. "No bacon for you," Daniel says sternly. Murphy whines. Daniel sighs and sneaks him a piece anyway. Claire laughs. This is what happiness looks like, she realizes. Not the grand gestures or the dramatic declarations, but this, the ordinary moments, the quiet mornings, the shared laughter and comfortable silence. She and Daniel sit down to breakfast, the ocean glittering beyond the window, their future stretching out before them like an open road. They have come so far. They still have so far to go. But for the first time in her life, Claire is not afraid of the journey. She is ready for whatever comes next. Together. If you have watched this far, it is because this story touched something in your heart. I want to get to know you, so leave a comment saying, "I watched until the end." That way I can see who really connects with these stories. And while you're at it, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear a story about love, resilience and second chances. Do not forget to subscribe if you have not already. More stories like this are coming every week. Thank you for being part of this community. You are the reason we do this. Until next time, take care of yourself and those you love.